The air was thick with the acrid scent of smoke and sweat as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the battered landscape. The distant clash of metal rang like a funeral dirge, chilling the spirits of the onlookers who bore witness to the chaos of battle. In the heart of the carnage, Herodotus stood, his cloak flapping violently in the wind, his heart pounding like a war drum in his chest. The ground was soaked with the blood of the fallen, and the metallic tang hung heavy in the air, mingling with the scent of burnt flesh and the tang of iron. Each breath drew in a world on the brink of collapse, where hope and despair intertwined like the intricate patterns of a woven basket. The cries of the wounded pierced through the din, each shriek resonating deep within him, ripping at the very fabric of his soul. "Tell me, do you see them?" a hoarse whisper broke through the haze, his fellow historian. "Look at these men who risk everything for honor, for glory, and for nothing." The weight of the words lingered, hanging in the thick air like the smoke from nearby fires. He could feel the palpable tension, and despite the carnage surrounding him, he felt an insatiable thirst for understanding. The sights and sounds of chaos were not merely tragedy, they were a story begging to be told. As the last rays of sunlight fell away, casting the world into darkness, Herodotus took a deep breath, choking on the heavy atmosphere, and resolved to chronicle the events of this day. The taste of ashes lingered on his tongue, and he fully understood that history was not just a collection of facts but a visceral experience filled with emotions, struggles, and human frailties. In the small town of Halicarnassus, a far cry from the fierce battles that would define his legacy, Herodotus was born into a family struggling to survive. The salty tang of the Aegean Sea filled the air, a constant reminder of the relentless tides of fortune and misfortune that shaped their lives. His father, a merchant, often returned home with eyes heavy with disappointment, the weight of failed ventures apparent upon his face. Herodotus would sit quietly, listening to the crackle of the fire as it flickered in their modest home, bringing warmth but never comfort. "Do you know what the world thinks of us, boy?" his father would mutter, bitterness spilling from his lips as he tossed another piece of wood into the fire, sending sparks flying into the night. "They see only our failures, not the efforts behind them." The helplessness in his voice was palpable, the aroma of burnt wood mingling with the scent of despair that hung in the air. At school, young Herodotus was a curious boy, often lost in thought while his classmates played. The sound of their laughter would be a bitter balm to him, mixing with the sharp edges of his own loneliness. Those experiences would seep into his understanding of humanity and history, a blend of love, loss, and the yearning for truth. Yet, it was not merely curiosity that drove him, it was the need to escape the shadows of his father's disappointment and to carve a path for himself. As he grew older, the path toward becoming a historian was paved with hardships. After a failed attempt to document the rise and fall of the Persian Empire, he found himself at a crossroads. Sitting alone in the dim light of a candlelit room, with the scent of melting wax swirling around him, he felt the weight of failure pressing down on his shoulders. The parchment before him remained blank, taunting him with its emptiness. "Why do I even try?" he whispered to the stillness of the room, his voice barely breaking the silence. "What do I know of history? I'm just a boy with dreams too grand for this world." The heavy aroma of the wax mixed with the bitterness of doubt clouded his mind. It was in this moment of despair that his resolve began to crystallize. He realized that history was not just a list of names and dates, it was the collective memory of humanity. It was about people, their triumphs and failures, their laughter and their cries. As the flickering light danced across the room, he vowed to uncover the truths hidden beneath the layers of time, to give voice to those who had been silenced. After years of perseverance, Herodotus found his calling in the form of an epic that would intertwine his life with the monumental conflicts of his time, the Greco-Persian Wars. He immersed himself in research, his fingers covered in ink as he scribbled down accounts from soldiers and citizens alike. The clamor of voices filled his ears, each one a piece of the larger puzzle he sought to piece together. One specific tactic he focused on was the use of deception in warfare, a method employed by the Greek commander Themistocles during the pivotal Battle of Salamis. The salty smell of the sea brushed against his skin as he envisioned the fleet of Athenian ships, sleek and swift, poised for battle. The Persians, confident and unaware of the impending trap, were lured into the straits, where their numbers would become a liability. Themistocles was not just a warrior, he was a master of psychology, he noted as he wrote, his pencil scratching against parchment. He knew that the true strength of an army lies not in its size but in its strategy. The sound of the pencil against the paper resonated like the beat of a war drum in his mind, invigorating him. Speaking to veterans, he asked them about their emotions during those crucial moments. "Fear grips your heart," one seasoned soldier recounted, his voice a gravelly whisper. "But in the chaos, you find clarity. You do the unthinkable to protect your homeland. Herodotus felt a deep excitement swell within him. He could almost hear the crashing waves and the clang of swords, the taste of salt and sweat mingling on his tongue. This was the life he sought, immersed in the stories of those who lived and fought. The day of the Battle of Salamis dawned with a heavy, oppressive humidity clinging to the air, making it hard to breathe. The sun struggled to break through the overcast sky, casting a gray pallor over the waters of the Aegean Sea. As Herodotus stood on the shore, the wind whipped through his hair, carrying with it the briny scent of the ocean and the distant sounds of the impending clash. The Athenian ships, carrying their crew of determined warriors, sliced through the water with purpose, their wooden hulls creaking ominously against the waves. The tension was palpable, the air crackled with an electric energy. "We fight for our freedom," a young sailor shouted, his voice rising above the sounds of the creaking ships and crashing waves. The resolve in his eyes burned fiercely, a beacon among the sea of uncertainty. As the two fleets collided, the cacophony of chaos unfolded around Herodotus. The clashing of swords, the splintering of wood, and the cries of men filled the air, creating a symphony of warfare that would be etched in history. The heat of battle was suffocating, the smell of sweat and blood mixed with the salty air, a sensory overload that both exhilarated and terrified him. "Hold your ground, men. Fight for your homes," the commanders cried, their voices rising above the tumult. Herodotus felt each word reverberate in his chest as he instinctively grasped his quill, ready to document the courage and sacrifice displayed before him. The landscape transformed into a canvas painted with the hues of battle, glistening steel, the deep crimson of spilled blood, and the stark white of sails against the darkening sky. With every blow struck and life lost, he understood that this was not merely about war, it was about the heart of a people fighting against a shared enemy. As the tide turned in the Greeks' favor, Herodotus' heart raced, fueled by a newfound passion for the stories that would shape the future. But with victory came the harsh realities of the political landscape. As Herodotus documented the triumphs and trials of the Greeks, he soon found himself at odds with those he once considered allies. The air grew thick with tension, a suffocating presence that weighed heavily on his shoulders. Fellow historians began to question his integrity, accusing him of sensationalizing events for personal gain. "Herodotus, you speak of honor and valor, but your pen spills lies to fill your pages," a rival historian spat, his voice dripping with disdain. "You are not a scholar, you are a storyteller." The accusation hung in the air like a bitter fog, the chill of betrayal seeping into Herodotus' bones. As he faced the relentless onslaught of criticism, he retreated to his study, the familiar scent of ink and parchment giving him little comfort. "What do they know of history?" he murmured, fighting back the tears that threatened to overwhelm him. "History is not just facts, it is the blood and tears that forge our existence." The shadows of doubt loomed large, but within him, a spark ignited, a determination to continue, to give voice to the voiceless even amidst the betrayal of those who should have stood beside him. In the twilight of his life, Herodotus reflected upon the tumultuous journey he had traversed. The fires of conflict, the scent of sweat and blood, and the heart-wrenching tales of humanity weighed heavily on his heart. Sitting among the scrolls he had created, he pondered the nature of human existence. "History is a mirror," he wrote, reflecting our virtues and vices, our triumphs and tragedies. "It teaches us that while we are flawed, we are also capable of greatness." The gentle scratching of his quill against the parchment was almost meditative, a rhythm that encapsulated the essence of his philosophy. Herodotus understood that the greatest battles were not fought on the battlefield but within the human soul, overcoming ignorance, prejudice, and fear. He hoped that future generations would learn from the mistakes of the past and strive to create a better world. As he gazed out at the horizon, the sun setting in a blaze of color, he felt a profound sense of purpose. His stories would endure, a testament to the resilience of humanity, whispering to future generations about the triumphs and failings that shaped the course of history. And with that, he knew he had become more than just a historian, he had become a conduit for the voices of history, forever and more.